Okay, here we have catastrophic scenario risk table for trading from 2025 to 2035 Trump presidency, because for some reason ChatGPT has not discovered that Donald Trump was reelected president yet, so I had to explain that to it, which does hurt one's confidence in some of its probabilities. But I'm going to kind of just go through and say where I agree and disagree with it. I'm basically just trying to figure out my trading risk, since the way I like to trade, I don't have like a defined stop loss normally, and I just define when I should get out of a trade based on how the trade is working. I'm sure a lot of people think that's really dumb, but I actually do pretty good recently, past 6 months at least, and you could say, oh, well, that's only 6 months of data and, you're going to fail. But I would actually say to you, look at the last 6 months. If I can make it through that, I don't know. Seems like maybe I will be okay. But a little arrogant there, because we're headed for level 3 possibly. So yeah, I looked back at the Dow till 1896, which is when ChatGPT says it was created. But I feel like I've looked at another stock index before then at some point, so there might actually be more data than I'm looking at. And I know that there's like other exchanges that I believe existed, before the United States exchanges. I'm not sure though. I'm sure all the nerds can comment how I'm like wrong and stupid and blah blah blah. Actually, so you guys have at that. But anyway, just to continue with looking into these risk scenarios, since I like to not have a stop and just hold my things and not be forced out unless I want to get out, I usually end up taking losses way before they even get to 1%, to be honest. Quite often. Sometimes they do get to 1%. So like half the time they probably get to that. But yeah, anyway, let me go back here. This is just my little risk management plan. Probably doesn't apply to a lot of people, but yeah, anyway, that's enough explaining. Okay, so I think it's probably about right on the U.S. Civil War 10-year, 10% probability average. That seems about right. I'm not going to comment on the next one at all because, for obvious reasons, I don't want any association with, but it is a risk that, has to be measured if you're a trader, because that could happen, as has been shown by that it nearly did happen. And then I think this tactical nuke situation seems about right, about 15%. Maybe it's up to 20% after the Ukrainian attack on the Russian airfields, despite that it's just only a military target. I feel like Ukraine did what they could with that by just only striking military targets, whereas they're using those military targets to bomb civilians. But Putin is Putin, and, the way that whole system's designed, he kind of is going to have to do crazy things potentially to maintain power. So I think a tactical nuke is probably about right at 15 to 20%. Russia nukes Ukrainian city. I basically do agree that there's some chance of that, but that it's very low. Sorry about that. Silly iPhone. Doing what it's programmed to do, actually. But anyway, that's 1 to 3%. That seems about right, because that would invite a larger retaliatory response, and like no one around the world would approve of that, compared to the tactical nuke, which still no one would approve of, and it would be very bad, but at least it would potentially be used on a military target. And then Trump suspends 2028 election. This is where I think ChatGPT is like really, really far off, or I'm crazy. It's one or the other, but I think that's probably more up to like 20%. I think there's at least a 20% chance there that somehow the 2028 elections are suspended, or the midterms. I think it would be definitely not just like, hey, I'm going to be the president forever. I think it would be more like, oh, there's a crisis of the new, I don't know, Trump coin has gone down 50% in the past 2 days, which is a national emergency. So since we're having a national emergency due to the decline of Trump coin, which really is a lot, it's very important to everyone that Trump coin's going down. So we're going to, just suspend. I mean, it's probably better than that. I'm just, being an idiot, but what can I say? That's something that Trump makes up that will, I'm sure a lot of people would be, it's almost going to be, if the country actually experiences something that he did not plan, people are going to accuse him of this anyway at this point, based on just how a lot of things are being handled, in my opinion. But I'm really trying to remain objective here. It's hard to do that. It's hard to just not be political while talking about this, but I'm actually doing my best. And anyway, I now want to just show you guys like the expected circuit breaker likelihood. So level 2 is 13%. I believe like maybe a 15-minute halt, 30-minute halt. Do your own due diligence. This is all during RTH, as in real regular trading hours. I almost said real trading hours, which basically conveys the same meaning anyway. Level 3, 20% markets halted for the day. Level 1 is like 7%, and I think during overnight session everything's level 1, and then the market's halted until the regular trading hours open. Actually, there was like a 7% decline that I personally experienced during one of the days in April, where the market went right through limit down and did not halt for 15 minutes. And there was some really weird, just on the NASDAQ, but there's some really weird arbitrary thing that like, you guys got to go read it, but something happened that made it okay. Even though it went through the price, it's like it recovered it so quickly, it didn't matter. It really didn't make sense to me. But there's some weird stuff that happens even at 7%. Do your own research and just expect the 20%. I would really just, the only certainty I really feel with these limit down things is like minus 7% overnight. I know it'll be halted until the regular trading hours, and then minus 20% during the day. I know it's going to be halted until the next session begins. So those things we know. Anyway, I think it's interesting. It actually gauges the U.S. Civil War, which I even though I'm saying like Trump, I'm not necessarily, you'll notice that my probability of Trump suspending the election is maybe, an election is maybe 15 to 25%. However, I'm leaving the Civil War at 10% because I don't know if anyone will do anything about it. Because I mean, as long as people have their Netflix and DoorDash and stuff, like, maybe people are just really soft and like, I don't want to make this political, but, maybe people just don't really care and they're just down to not have elections as long as they get all their creature comforts and their Netflix for now and their little weed gummies and all the things that make them happy, and they keep watching their TV shows and living, have their reality TV and TikTok. As long as he's got TikTok, I guess maybe we're going to just all be okay with not having elections anymore, and then we'll see how that ends up if we're able to retain those things moving forward into the future. But that's not really for the scope of this video. So, moving on to, it's showing only a 7% decline if something unfortunate were to happen to the president, and then it's showing, level 1 or level 2 for a tactical nuke, which I think is about right. Civil war is obviously like level 3, like bad as possible, which makes sense because that would be extremely disruptive to the economy unless it ended extremely quickly. But I think until that civil war ended, it would be a level 3. It's not going to end on the first day. So like you're going to face a 20% decline. God help us if that happens. And then same thing for suspending the election. I would agree that it's going to be level 2 at first, but then level 3 once it's like a civil war. So, and then, if a city is nuked, then level 3, obviously, people probably won't even, be there to put a bid or an offer on because, I guess some people stay in the office or, I'd probably be headed for the places I've got in the woods at that point. I probably wouldn't even be worrying about my trading positions. Maybe I'd just hit flat and all and head out for the day if I had anything on. Unfortunately, flat null might not work since the market would already be down 20%. That'd be a heck of a candle. One other thing to throw out there, if anyone wants to know limit down stuff, is I think there's some kind of a 60-minute rolling window where if there's a 3 or 3.5% decline, market would be halted for 60 minutes. So you could, I don't know, just remember that too. Do your own research. But anyway, I hope this is helpful for someone's risk management. And I'm sure I'm going to get like lit up from every angle with all of how stupid this is. But this is just my process, and I'm just figuring out these are just my risk management thoughts. And so I'm going to go figure out my position sizing based on currently a 20% decline. And I'm going to try and evolve my trading style to be more confident in my risk management. But that's how small I personally will have to trade in this decade. Until something changes. It's looking like I'm pricing in 20% in a day. And so I'm going to be sizing down. And, if I'm able to evolve as a trader and have some algorithms or like stop systems on the exchange, which obviously I should try to do, then I'll be able to take more risk. But anyway, that's my opener.